Well, hello there. I'm Trista. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about supplements and supplementing your spirit. I have worked with natural health products for about 20 years, indirectly, 15 years directly. And I've always been very passionate about it. I have no formal training in it, so that's a PSA and a little, this is for entertainment purposes only, right? Or purposes, this is for entertainment purposes only. And hopefully if I figured out how to edit in a little picture or video or something, it'll be there. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, so yeah, I've come across a few supplements that can be helpful on your spiritual path as well. Or I should say on my spiritual path. You do you. You always talk to your doctor before taking any new supplements, especially if you're on medications, and that's like legit. You never know when something's going to interact. These things do have properties that create change in the body, right? So once you're creating change in the body, and that can go for foods too, right? So yeah, there can be interactions. So always be careful. Always talk to your healthcare practitioner about what's going to be right for you. So that is my PSA for the entire video. Okay, so yeah, I started working with natural health products about 15 years ago, like full on, and it's been quite the wonderful journey. I get a lot of training on the job. They will take us out for dinner and teach us about, different supplements, and then of course, in order to learn about that, you have to learn about the body and how they work in the body too. So it hasn't been, it's been valuable information, let's put it that way. So I do know my stuff. In fact, it's funny because so I've been at the store that I've been at now for about little over 3 years. And there's this one customer who absolutely loves me. And she'll ask for me sometimes, and and every customer has their favorites. But it's just interesting because I had no idea, but she's a herbalist. And she called one time and I answered, and she's like, "Oh, Trista, you're the herbalist, right?" And I said, "No, I'm not a herbalist." And she says, "Well, you're the one who helps me all the time." Yeah, that I am. She's like, "Oh, I thought you were a herbalist." She's like, "You really know your stuff." I'm like, yeah, I have no formal training, no formal background. I just have a lot of passion and time on my hands, I guess. Anyway, so I do kind of know my stuff, but I'm not a doctor. So, I don't know how many times I have to give that PSA so I don't get sued or thrown in jail, but we'll just throw it in there every now and then. Anyway, yeah, so it's wonderful because I was working at different health food stores through the years. And I also do energy work, as I'm sure you know, because that's what this channel is about. And when I was kind of running out of steam at my last job, I had said to one of my coworkers, I would love to do both. I would love to have my energy work practice and then be able to walk out of the clinic and go into a store and then have supplements there to help people, whether it's energetic or physical, but to be able to do both of the things that I love. And she says, "Oh, that's what they do at," insert the name of the store where I work now. And I said, "Really? I had no idea." And then I looked it up, and it was a little far from home, and I thought, I have to take the bus again. And I was kind of, getting into just walking to work. It was like an 8-minute walk. It was wonderful. But I did need a change. And so I looked at it and I kind of dismissed it the first time. And then another coworker, when we were talking about, this whole thing, different coworker though, and I said, "This is what I'd love to do." And she says, "I had a dream like that." She says, "I had a dream that I went to you for Reiki and we walked out of the room and there was a store." And I said, "Oh, well, isn't that interesting? I think I need to look at this again." And then I looked at the Facebook page and there was an ad for now hiring. So it wasn't nearly enough hours for me to live on, but I thought, well, maybe I can get in there and do Reiki too, and it'll be okay, and I'll just really have to be careful with my money, even though it would have barely given me enough to pay my rent. But I was like something's got to change here, and I have to take a risk, and I felt safe taking that risk. So I was like, okay, well, you know what? I'm just gonna apply and leave it up to the universe, right? So I did up my resume. It's funny because I'm a night owl, so I used to be, so I, get it all done. And then I had decided I was going to send it in the morning, have it all ready to go and send it in the morning, like a normal person, not send it at midnight. And I sent it at 12:09 by accident. As soon as I hit send, I was like, oh crap, now I look like a weirdo. Sent it at 12:09, and then the owner of the company emailed me back at 12:21. And she said, let's set up an interview. Call me in the morning. So yeah, ended up having my interview and explaining my situation, like financially and stuff like that. And she said, like, we're gonna make this work. I don't want you to get another job. We're gonna make this work. So yeah, so we did. And here I am still 3 years later. And it's nice because I do get to take clients there, because it's a clinic and a store. So I can take clients and I can work on the floor, and it's awesome in that regard for sure. So yeah, so this video is also going to be combining my two passions, and we're going to talk about supplements that can be helpful for spiritual things. So the first one that I want to talk about is the first one that kind of crossed my path a few years ago. If you have heard of Dolores Cannon, she is brilliant and I absolutely love her. I'm not going to go into a big Dolores Cannon tirade right now because that could get this video way out of control. But she had in one of her books, whoops, I'm just throwing stuff around. In one of her books, she had mentioned magnesium as being a great supplement for grounding other people's energy. So if you're one of those people who's constantly picking stuff up from other people, magnesium can help to ground that and to kind of get you back, feeling like you. And that makes so much sense to me. And I say that because one of the first things in the natural health industry, if you have fibromyalgia, it's going to be suggested that you take magnesium, because magnesium is great for muscles. It'll, loosen everything up and help you feel more comfortable in your body. But the other thing about fibromyalgia that I personally have noticed, and I'm not making a generalization, I mean every individual person that I know who has fibromyalgia is the type of person who takes on everybody else's problems, or at least the problems of the people they really care about, and internalizes them. So that kind of goes along with that whole theory and kind of makes sense with why magnesium would help someone like that who's doing that. So I found that really fascinating. So magnesium, very good thing to include, if it's right for you after you talk to your doctor, even though magnesium is pretty necessary, and it's not in the soil anymore. We don't farm properly anymore. We're not, doing the crop rotations like we should. So the soil is empty of most minerals, but magnesium is a big one that our bodies are really missing. And it has anywhere between, depending on who you listen to, 300 to 800 different functions in the body. And that's not a woo thing, and that's not a people who are into natural health making stuff up thing. That's legit science. So at least 300, possibly 800 different functions. So super important. It takes 54 molecules of magnesium to break down 1 molecule of sugar. I also find that fascinating. Good for, the brain, for sleep, muscles, as I've said, of course, mood, stress. We use up more magnesium when we're under stress as well. So very, very important. I love magnesium so much, and it's funny because I always kind of felt like, because I would take some and feel a little bit better, but it never really lasted. Because I was taking the dose that it said on the bottle, right? Because you think that you can trust that sort of thing. Health Canada is very conservative in their dosing, and that's fine. Always listen to Health Canada. They know what's best for us, absolutely. But I, for my body, noticed that, so I would do, a certain dose every day, and I would feel better, and then I would start to feel kind of shitty again. And so then I would up it again, and then I would feel better, and then it would kind of start to wear off, and then I would up it again. So kind of finding that sweet spot for my own body took that kind of experimentation. So it's like you take a dose for a week, see how you feel, and then kind of adjust and listen to, no, not you, me. Then I would kind of adjust and listen to my own body and increase if I felt that I should. So I take like 3 scoops, and it's 400 milligrams a scoop. I try to aim for 3 scoops, so it's anywhere between 800 and 1200 milligrams that I take a day. I'm a little heavier too though, so, also if you're under stress, if you have a hard time sleeping, if you have muscle pain, those are all reasons to take more as well. Those are all reasons for me to take more as well. So kind of the base amount that I learned from a nurse that I know, shout out to her if she's watching. I don't know, I haven't even told her about my channel yet. Maybe I will now since I'm mentioning her, and we won't give names because nobody's getting sued here. But she said if you figure out your body weight in kilograms, which honestly nobody in Canada does, but we still weigh everything in pounds. But, well, not everything, but bodies, yes. But body weight in kilograms times 6 is kind of your base of how much magnesium would be good for you. And then for people who have extra stress or sleep issues or other issues, then you can kind of adjust from there. So that's magnesium. There are different types of magnesium. There's a lot of different types. I know there's a lot in the US that we can't get here in Canada, but I usually will recommend bisglycinate or glycinate. They're the same thing. It's just 2 molecules of glycine will always have to attach to the molecule of magnesium. So that's why it's a bis. And some companies just leave that off just to make it easier to pronounce, probably, or more easier to remember, I don't know. But they are the same thing, confirmed by Dr. Jonathan of CanPrev. So glycine would be probably the best all-round one. It's also nice for sleep because glycine helps for sleep too. And citrate, if you have a hard time going to the bathroom, you might want to do a citrate. But if you don't have a hard time going to the bathroom, then you kind of might want to avoid it because it can definitely get things going that way, pull a lot of water into the colon. Oxide, you don't really absorb any of the magnesium, it just pulls water into the colon, so people will use that as a laxative. I don't suggest that as a form of magnesium as a supplement, but it's great for that sort of thing. Citrate, bisglycinate, malate. Malate is wonderful as well for people with fibromyalgia, especially because malic acid can be really good for nerve health too. So those are probably my 3 top ones. Oh, there's L-threonate as well, of course. And L-threonate has an easier time crossing the blood-brain barrier. It's bonded with threonine, and it'll get into the brain more easily and help for things like mood and sleep and stress and anxiety and all those kind of fun things. So that's magnesium. And got into a little bit more physical stuff than spiritual as well, as I probably am going to do for a lot of these. Now the next one that kind of came on my radar, well actually it's not the next, but we're going to talk about it next anyway, it doesn't matter, they don't have to be in order of how I discovered them. So glutathione. So glutathione is an antioxidant that we produce, in our bodies. It is our body's like most abundant antioxidant, really powerful stuff. It's been very hard to formulate so that we can absorb it properly. And up until very recently, I would just tell people to take NAC, acetylcysteine. If you want glutathione, you take NAC. NAC turns into glutathione, especially if it has selenium and glycine with it. Just those two. I feel like there's another one in there. That's a rich tapestry. But anyway, NAC. And NAC is amazing for lungs and liver. And it's one of my favorite amino acids because I'm a geek with a favorite amino acid. But it's phenomenal. So I had been taking it because it clears mucus. So I was sick, oh God, this is probably 10 years ago now. And I was taking it to clear my lungs. And then lo and behold, my cramps that month were like way less than they normally are. And I thought, I am not rolled up in the fetal position for some reason. Why is that? What did I do right? And then I thought of the stuff that I was taking when I was sick and looked up NAC. And sure enough, they're studying acetylcysteine for use in people with PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome. So giving the liver what it needs, because the liver is where we process hormones, helps us to process those hormones more easily, right? To give it a good antioxidant and get on the right path. So that's NAC. NAC is also used in hospitals for people who have Tylenol poisoning, so acetaminophen poisoning, or paracetamol if you're in the UK. They'll give people acetylcysteine to counteract the effects of Tylenol poisoning. Fascinating, right? Okay, you know what else is fascinating? They've done a study where, and I should find this study, I'll put it in the description if I can find it. But they studied people who take Tylenol on a regular basis, and they were more apathetic to other human beings around them than people who didn't. So basically, Tylenol numbs your ability to be empathic with other people. Doesn't that speak volumes about the world? So that's interesting, right? I think that's super interesting. Now we're going to step back from that for just half a second and go back to glutathione, and we're going to go back to like COVID days when my friend who is a shaman, we're not as close anymore. I'm not going to call her a former friend, but I haven't talked to her in a long time. But she's a shaman, like legit, like traveled the world and got all of her shaman training across the whole board. And she said one of the things that they were told in shaman school, that's her words, they were told, you don't need to take supplements, but take glutathione. And that got me thinking. At the time, I was kind of like, okay, whatever, and I explained NAC versus glutathione, and she was like, no, just glutathione. But it got me thinking. So if a shaman in training is being told, take glutathione, and then we go back to that study that says Tylenol destroys our ability to relate to other people. And that's my, flowery way to say it. But essentially, right? If it's numbing our empathic abilities, then that says something. So if it has that effect on our liver, and glutathione is something that's recommended to shaman, then perhaps it's being recommended because it strengthens our ability to be empathic, right? It's kind of like what's buzzing in my ear about it. So when I made this connection, I invested in some glutathione. And if you were to take it, I would suggest a liposomal version, because liposomal is going to get in the cells a lot better or reduced. It's the other term they'll use. So I started taking glutathione before my sessions. And and I don't know, maybe it's all in my head, but it does seem like it makes a difference. I feel things differently, more readily, more deeply. I know what it all means a little more readily. And I find that really fascinating. So glutathione for strengthening your empathic abilities. And I mean, some of us don't really need that in the real world. I like to use it before a session. I don't know if I would want that strengthened, if I'm going to West Edmonton Mall. Dear God in heaven, no. Definitely not. I kind of avoid that place like the plague. So it might not be great in every situation, but for times when it's important to you to, feel a little bit extra, then, maybe that's something to consider. Okay, so next we're going to talk about vitamin K2, which is my favorite vitamin. So, and it's funny, my three favorite things, because magnesium is my favorite mineral, and K2 is my favorite vitamin, and NAC is my favorite amino acid. So, but anyway, K2, so vitamin K2, on a physical level, helps vitamin D to work better, helps it to absorb more safely for anyone who might be taking large amounts of vitamin D. It'll help it to get in better and more safely, like I said. And it ushers calcium around the body, so it'll take it out of places it could be building up, like in the arteries or in the joints or in the pineal gland, and get it back into the bones and teeth. So my claim to fame with K2 is that, so I had gone to a training about it a long time ago. This is probably 2010 or 11 maybe. And it's funny because the rep, he was so nice. He was like, oh, it's a breakfast training. You got to be there. It's going to be great. Dr. Kate's going to be there, and she's such a great speaker. And I was like, breakfast training? You want me to drag my ass out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning, which I kind of do all the time now. And then bus to God knows where for a breakfast when I don't even really eat breakfast. And he's like, this is important, and I will come to your house and I will pick you up. And I was like, oh, well, that puts a new angle on things. And I was like, if he's that willing, then sure, I'll go. So he came and picked me up, and, I helped set up and stuff too a little bit. And it ended up being just an absolutely life-changing talk. It really was. She is so good. She's one of my favorite speakers in the natural health industry. I like to say I have a little celebrity crush on her. And then she came another time, and I got to shake her hand. And that time she was talking about collagen. It was so funny because I shook her hand. And then afterwards I was telling one of my coworkers, she has the softest hands I have ever felt in my entire life. And right then my boss at the time just kind of comes out from around the corner, and he's smirking, and he's like, maybe it's all that collagen she takes. Anyway, so Dr. Kate, wonderful, wonderful lady. And so when she gave the talk on K2, she was pregnant at the time, and she was taking 400 micrograms or 480. I can't remember if it was 400 or 480. She was taking 4 pills, and they come in 100 or 120 micrograms, so one or the other. Anyway, but she said, we don't get it in our diet anymore. It's really hard to get it in the diet, especially in a sustainable kind of way. We can get it a bit here and there, but it's hard to keep in your diet for sure. So she was taking a lot because she was pregnant, and she says, she showed pictures of people from cultures that have it in their diet on an ongoing basis, and how they're beautiful. Their faces are just structured beautifully. Their teeth are perfect. And she says, well, yeah, this is what K2 does, because it ushers calcium around the body, because it helps for bone formation. and a whole bunch of other things, brain and blood pressure, blood sugar, blood pressure, blood sugar. Oh gosh, you know what? I'm not going to start naming a whole bunch of things that it does, because maybe that's, not the wisest thing to do on a stream like this, but it does a lot of stuff. And she literally wrote the book on K2, and it's called K2 and the Calcium Paradox. I've read most of it. I never did finish it, but it's good, really good. And so the reason I'm mentioning it here is because of its effect on ushering calcium out of places it shouldn't be, like the pineal gland, right? So if our third eye is all over crusted with calcium, does that help us to be intuitive? No, that's not good. That's not good at all. So so it can help with that. It helped my knees. That's my favorite thing about it right now. So from the time that I was probably, based on where I was living, I'm guessing I was probably 15. I remember the first time it happened, and I knelt down because I was going to wash my hair in the bathtub, and I knelt down at the bathtub, and it felt like I was kneeling on a little stone. So I, wiped off my knee. Didn't help. I even pulled up my pant leg thinking there was something in my pants, and nope, there was nothing there, but it still felt like I was kneeling on this little stone. And that persisted for decades. So finally I went to this, it would have been 2 decades. Went to this training, learned about K2, started taking K2, and I was taking a lot too. I don't even know why. I just felt called to take 4 pills, just like she was. She was my hero. I'll just do the same thing. She mentioned also there's no known toxicity with vitamin K2, so I felt safe doing that as well. And then one day I went to kneel down for something, and lo and behold, that wasn't there. That weird little stone that I regularly had to kneel on was gone. And again, I had a what am I doing right moment, and that's got to be it, because there was nothing else in my diet or regimen, I should say, that would do that. So quite fascinating. So that's why I love K2. I was going to talk about food sources. So vitamin K2 we can get through certain foods. So if the cow is grass-fed, it will be in the butter, and it will be in brie cheese if the cow is grass-fed. So they eat the grass, they get the K1 from the green and the grass, and then they turn it into vitamin K2 in some of their products. It's negligible in milk. I think it's there, but not enough really to make too much of a difference. And then it is also in Gouda cheese, and it's in Gouda cheese regardless of how the cow is fed, because in the case of Gouda, it comes out with the fermentation process. Speaking of fermentation, natto, Japanese natto bean is another great source. That is an acquired taste, to say the least. It looks absolutely disgusting. I've never tried it. I don't need that in my life. I'll just take my K2 in a pill form, thanks. It looks absolutely revolting, but it has huge amounts of K2, and it is usually the source, or often the source, that supplements will use is from Japanese natto bean. What else? And eggs. So if the chickens are grass-fed, it'll be in the eggs. Now, keep in mind that somewhere like Canada, where we don't have green grass for the vast majority of the year, that's going to be a challenge, because they can be grass-fed, while the grass is growing. But once it's, doesn't have the chlorophyll in there, then I'm not sure how much K2 or how much K1 they'd be getting from that to, transform for the rest of us. So that's why I take it in a pill form. It has what do you call it? Half-life of about 3 days, if I'm not mistaken. So even if you forget some doses, you're still pretty covered. Okay, now speaking of chlorophyll, chlorophyll is the next on my list. So chlorophyll, I like to think of as liquid sunlight. Because it is, right? The sun shines down, gets in the grass or the whatever. The alfalfa is a great source of chlorophyll. And then, of course, chlorella and spirulina and moringa are great sources of chlorophyll as well. And those are also great sources of just great nutrition. So, yeah, don't confuse it with chloroform. That's different. But chlorophyll is very cleansing. If you haven't taken it before, please start slow. If, your doctor says it's okay to take, throw that in there. Yeah, it can be super cleansing. So that means if you take too much, you're going to be in the bathroom. Don't make any other plans the next day or later that day, depending on your system. But yeah, really fantastic stuff. And you can take chlorophyll as a liquid, or you can, go for one of the more nutritive sources like moringa or chlorella or spirulina. I like chlorella and spirulina together because they're both just absolutely fantastic sources of nutrition. Different B vitamins in different amounts, and put them together, and it's just like, I do that instead of a multivitamin. When I remember, I'm not taking it right now. I really should be, though. I got to get back on a lot of the things that I've been kind of falling off the wagon with. But yeah, chlorella, spirulina, Prairie Naturals, that would be my favorite. It's called Aqua Greens, and it's just chlorella and spirulina. You can get it in capsule, tablet, or in powder, and they have flavors now. They just had the green powder that you could just add to whatever if you were, a hero. But no thanks. I can't handle spirulina, especially chlorella. I kind of can. Spirulina just tastes way too fishy. So anyway, you can get it flavored now, and they have like a tropical. If you want to kill the taste of greens, pineapple is how you do it. Pineapple or mango, apparently. I haven't tried it with mango, but pineapple juice with greens in it, you don't taste it at all. It's crazy. So that's that. And yes, I wanted to throw in that with regards to chlorella, I love it so much. NASA was studying it for the space station because it requires very little room to grow, and it's super nutrient dense. So they can grow it up there and have nutrition right at their hands. So, and another little story, and I don't know, when I look into this, I can't really find anything supporting it, but I don't see why he would lie. So many moons ago, when I was still at another store back in the day, I had a young couple come in, and I don't know how we had got to talking about chlorella, but I'm telling them all about it, and he says, I wonder if that's what was in those little green gummies that they would give us when I was in the military. He says they just little green gummies, and they were told to just kind of nibble at them, and it was supposed to be enough nutrition for the entire day. I thought, well, that's fascinating. But yeah, I can't find anything to support that now, so I don't know. But just putting that out there. I wouldn't be surprised. Next, we have one of my favorites. So much my favorite that I named my cat after it. One of my cats. So holy basil is a wonderful herb, also known as tulsi. And it's an Ayurvedic herb, meaning it's like Indian in origin. And it's worshipped there, I believe, or at least it's one of the first herbs that they'll use like in ritual because it is so highly esteemed. It helps to reduce cortisol. And I find, now not all holy basil is equal. I love one brand over all the others, and that is New Chapter. I have a hard time saying that out loud to a whole bunch of people though, because New Chapter is owned by Procter & Gamble. Now they weren't. When I fell in love with it, they weren't owned by them. I just want to put that out there. They have not changed the product because I know it still works as well as it did back then. Also, when they were bought out by Procter & Gamble, the first thing that they did was donated a whole ton of money, I almost swore, whole ton of money to the non-GMO project. And I think that's brilliant. Yeah, take that, P&G. Anyway, yes, so New Chapter, they have, their holy basil is, first of all, it's the equivalent of 7.4 grams of holy basil if you were like eating it, you know, by the fistful. Also, they use an aqueous extract and a supercritical extract, which means it's pulling different components out. Each of those is pulling different components out. So you get a really good broad spectrum of all of the different parts and active components in the herb. It's kind of a paste inside of the capsule. I suggest if you do that one, other brands are going to be probably, the whole herb or a different type of extraction. But with theirs, it's a paste. You can bite it open, and if it mixes with the enzymes in your saliva, it helps to break it down and get it active more readily, so it will kick in faster and better. And it's true. Like, I feel it kick in. If I'm the worse off I am, like if I'm really stressed, I'll feel that second. It'll be like stress. And then I can breathe. I don't want to kill people. It is just everything lifts, where suddenly it's all okay. And it's like, okay, now I can think about my problems and make them make sense and help myself to rationalize why I shouldn't be, worrying like I was or whatever. And it's really interesting. Just everything comes into focus. And yeah, that's why I love it. In fact, the mystics in India will use holy basil when they're off in the Himalayas and meditating and stuff, and they'll use holy basil to help them reach enlightenment. And if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. Ashwagandha is another great adaptogen. An adaptogen is a herb or a substance that helps your body to adapt to stress. So both holy basil and ashwagandha are adaptogens. They will sometimes affect hormones, so keep that in mind. Both holy basil and ashwagandha can increase testosterone in men. I believe it doesn't increase it in women, just in men. Because I think it helps and this is just off the cuff, if it's helping as an adaptogen, then it's helping your body to know what to do. So it's not going to increase testosterone in a woman who has enough or has too much or whatever. It's not going to do that because that's not going to be what's best for that body. A little example of how adaptogens can work. So maca, if you've ever heard of maca, M-A-C-A, it's a root from Peru. They just eat it like potatoes there, from what I understand. I could be wrong, I don't know, I've never been there. But it's a root, and it is very much like a potato, except that it's also wonderful for balancing hormones. And it's wonderful because it balances hormones in whatever way is healthy for that body at that time. So if you take maca in the morning, what's going on out there? 1 second. Okay, I don't know what he's doing. There's someone throwing stuff in the garbage in a very loud way. Okay, so anyway, if you take maca in the morning, it's going to give you a boost. It's going to give you energy. If you take it at night, it'll help you sleep. And it's funny because my old boss had told me that, because I had gone to him for a consultation, and he had suggested maca in the morning and night, and I said, isn't that going to disturb my sleep? And he just laughed. He said, no, try it, you'll see. And truly, it did help. I should another thing that I should do again. Maybe that's why I'm doing this video, to remind me of all the stuff that I've, fallen off the wagon with that could be helpful. Okay, next is L-theanine. So L-theanine is an amino acid that is in green tea. It's what keeps you calm but focused in green tea. It's also the reason that people who are really sensitive to caffeine can sometimes still have green tea, because it just kind of balances you out. You get the caffeine, but then you also get that nice kind of balancing part of L-theanine to kind of keep you grounded. It also, however, increases or puts you into an alpha brainwave state. So we associate that with being calm and alert, but centered, maybe, for lack of a better word. What I find interesting, and the reason I'm bringing this up, is because I was watching Jimmy Church one time, and he had on this lady who worked with children who had psychic abilities or shown some psychic tendencies, and she mentioned how being in an alpha brainwave state was really helpful for these kids in their testing process, their psychic testing process. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. Now, I haven't tried it out completely, but I would like to kind of do a little experiment with L-theanine and see if it can help me. And I should take a whole bunch. I'm going to take a whole bunch, and then I'm going to do my Zener cards. See what happens, see if I can get better. It's funny, when I first got those cards, the first time I went through the deck, so there's 25 cards, got 11 out of 25, and I was like, oh, I rock. And then the next time was 7, and then 4, and then 3, and then I think one time I got 1. So I was like, okay, it's just getting worse and worse. Got all excited. No, and then you're supposed to do the average, right? You can't just be like, I got 11 out of 25. No, that's not how it works. Anyway, so I should try taking some L-theanine and then do it again. So L-theanine is also wonderful for stress and anxiety and all that kind of fun stuff. It's nice during the day. It'll keep you nice and even, and it's nice at night because it can actually help you to sleep too. So another one of those things. So next, I have different medicinal mushrooms. Not the magical kind. I mean, those have potential in their own right, but I'm not talking about that here, because that's really opening up a can of worms that I'm not prepared to deal with. So we're just going to talk about the fully legal medicinal kind. So 2 of them that I want to talk about are lion's mane and reishi. So reishi, again, adaptogen, right? Bringing down the stress, keeping you even, keeping you balanced and grounded and whatever, right? Reishi's wonderful. But the other one, lion's mane. So lion's mane is great for brain health and nerve health. I've been taking it actually for the nerve pain in my feet, and it works like a charm. And pretty quickly, I was impressed, because I got results in a way that I thought, am I making this up? Is it actually helping, or am I expecting it to help? Is this like a placebo thing? But I was also taking a lot because I love it. So I take quite a bit of lion's mane, and it has been helping my nerve pain for sure. And then I fell off the wagon for a while, and then it started to come back in about 4 days. 4 days without it, I was like, oh yeah, okay, I see now, yep. You kind of got to test the waters in both directions. Does it help? When you're taking it, do you feel better? When you stop taking it, do you feel worse? Well, that's probably an indication, right? So I've started taking it again. It got to the point now, I can't be fooled with taking, see, here it is even. Taking a little dropper full, I just pour it in my mouth. I don't even measure, I don't care. It's good stuff. And it tastes amazing. Reishi, does not taste amazing. Lion's mane tastes amazing. And turkey tail tastes amazing. Turkey tail is more of an immune thing. I'm like sucking that back now because there was a lady in the store the other day with shingles, and I was like, why are you out here? Why are you coming out in public with your shingles? And so that's okay. I'll just take all my turkey tail and I'll be fine. What was I gonna say? Lion's mane. It's tasty and okay. So this is funny. Purica. So fantastic. They're one of my absolute favorite companies in the whole world, and throughout space and time, I just love them with my whole heart for many reasons. One of the reasons is that their mushroom line, they make almost no money off of their mushrooms, and Jason, the owner, refuses to compensate for that. So they put so much effort and amazingness into their mushrooms that if they charge properly for what they're worth, nobody would be able to buy them. Maybe not nobody, but people just wouldn't. There'd be a cheap one next to it, and that's what they would choose, right? They play frequencies for their mushrooms. Oh, like how could I not love them when that's the case? They are also studying to see if different frequencies can bring out different components in the mushrooms. Like what a brilliant study. I'm so excited. That just lights me up. I love it so much, and I look forward to, finding out what they find out. So that's Purica. What was my point, right? Okay, so Jason, the owner of the company, or one of the owners, had done and this was a public talk, which is why I'm actually saying who it was, but he talked about lion's mane helping to unlock stuck emotion. So he said, if you take like a whole bunch of lion's mane, like way more than you actually need, but just in one sitting, he's like, do it, but be prepared to cry and be okay with crying. Just let it out. So I don't remember how much he had said to take at that point. I don't remember if he said how much, but he talked about that and how it's going to unlock all of these emotions and really help you to dig deep. And I thought, well, that's fascinating. Then very soon after that, when I was at the store, one of the reps for one of the other mushroom companies came in, and I told her about that. And she says, well, that's really interesting because her and her company, now she didn't own the company, but the company she worked for, they had taken all the staff on a big camping trip, which sounds so fun. Anyway, so they had taken their staff on a camping trip, and they're all sitting around the fire one night, and somebody dared the owner of the company to eat an entire jar of powdered lion's mane. And he was like, sure. So he ate this entire jar of powdered lion's mane. Now keep in mind that it's also an extract. So not only is it an entire jar, but it's actually like an 8-to-1 extract. So it's 8 times. So if it's 100 milligrams in a serving, it's going to be actually 800 milligrams in a serving if it's an 8-to-1 extract. So he ate the whole thing. Now, I don't know if it was a small jar of like 45 grams or like 100 grams, but the whole thing. And she said that he just laughed his ass off for the rest of the night. So I guess he's okay. He's already processed his emotions. He's got no real trauma happening if he can just eat a whole jar of lion's mane and then just laugh for the rest of the night. But I thought that was pretty funny. Also, don't eat a whole jar of lion's mane, okay? Because I'm not going to get sued. So don't do it. That's for the professionals to do, or the nobody, or, yeah. It's another for entertainment purposes only. Okay, so next I have flower essences and homeopathics. Now, lots of people, even people who are in the industry and appreciate and acknowledge the power of herbs and other supplements like that, still have issues with homeopathics and by extension flower essences. So homeopathics and flower essences are similar in the fact that they're just tiny little bits of the main thing, right? Okay, so how am I going to explain this? So homeopathics are basically like they start with the mother tincture and then they dilute it and dilute it and dilute it. Like, so you're basically just getting the energetic imprint of that herb. So that's why you can take something like belladonna, which is poisonous, in a homeopathic form, and it's going to be helpful. So what it does is the things that belladonna will do to you is what homeopathic belladonna will fix. So it's on the theory that like will correct like, or something like that. Now I can't remember the exact phrasing. But what it does is stimulates your body to do the work, much like a vaccine, ironically, except that it doesn't have all the shit in it that vaccines have. That's what makes them a little questionable, is all of the extras. Not that you're getting a little bit of the virus. That's the part that is okay, right? You get a little bit of the virus, your body goes, okay, I'm gonna make antibodies. That makes sense to me. All of the, extras that they put in there, what don't make sense to me. Also, jamming it into your muscle as opposed to taking it through the ways that your body is used to getting pathogens, through your eyes and ears and nose and mouth. That's the way pathogens are supposed to enter us, not necessarily through our muscle. So when they go through the proper channels, then everything, our different immune system types, like our innate immune system versus our, I wasn't going to talk about this, and I don't have all of the proper terminology written down anywhere convenient, but we have innate immune system and, okay, well, I'm not going to sit here and try to think about it, but anyway, I want to remember, hang on. Adaptive, I looked it up. Oh, whoops. Our adaptive immune system. So when we skip over one, then, the other one kind of gets all hyper extended. It's not the right word either, but you know what I mean. So that's where the issues can kind of come in, theoretically. So with homeopathics, it's kind of based on that same theory where you take something, you take just a small, tiny amount of that thing, and then your body does the work based on that. To sleep, you take coffee, coffea cruda. So it's like an extract from coffee, but you get so little bit of it that your body goes, oh, I don't like this, and then it puts you to sleep. Now, my favorite homeopathic story, my late kitty, Huxley, by the way, that's her. Let's go. That's her up there. That's my baby. My sweet, sweet baby. Anyway, she had surgery at one point and then was a little bit afraid to use the litter box after that. And I wasn't sure if it was pain or if it was anxiety. When I would give her the opiates that the vet had suggested or had given her for her pain while she healed, she would go. But if she didn't have them, she would just hold it and just dribble everywhere. So my poor little girl, I didn't know what to do for her, and I talked to one of the ladies at work, and she was like, why don't you try belladonna as a homeopathic? So I got it. I literally gave her one pellet, held her down, got it in there. 15 minutes later, like I could almost set my watch to it, she was in the litter box and going to the bathroom. 15 minutes. And so then I would give it to her 3 times a day, and every freaking time, 15 minutes later, she'd be in the litter box. And so I did this for several days, and then she kind of normalized, and whatever the issue was, whether it was pain or anxiety, it fixed itself. So, you know, if it was a placebo effect, tell her that. I don't think she knows what that word means. Yeah, so that's where it's kind of funny when people say, well, homeopathics are only a placebo effect. Now, the other thing with homeopathics is that the higher the number, the deeper it goes. So arnica, I like to use as my example for this. So an arnica that's a 6CH is going to be good for bruising and bruising. And then 30 will be good for sprains and strains. And 200, which is actually more dilute, is going to be good for emotional trauma or physical trauma like surgery or a severe accident. So the higher the number, the deeper it goes. Oh yeah, look. Okay, I'll tell that story after. I dyed my tattoo temporarily. Anyway, we're almost done, and then I'll get to that story. Now, flower essences are kind of the flower versions. I guess homeopathics have flowers that they use too, but flower essences are different. Well, they're not dilutions the way homeopathics are, but they're subtle and energetic the way homeopathics are. So flower essences, basically, they take certain flowers and without barely even touching them, put them in like distilled or purified water, let the water absorb the essence of the flower, and then take it out, and then basically you're just taking that water. Usually it's in like a base of brandy, I assume, as a preservative. And those can be really, really helpful. Bach Flower Remedies is a line of flower essences, and Flower Essence Services, FES, is another brand. They're related somehow. I don't know if they're brothers or father-son or something, but anyway, both great brands, both really similar. And they'll have like different single remedies where you can look up to see like, what does this flower do, and see what, whatever you need. They also do combos. Those are really nice. They do combos for pets. There's also Rescue Remedy, which is a nice one for anxiety for humans. And then they have their Rescue Pet, which is very, very similar without alcohol. It's in glycerin instead of alcohol, so that a dog or cat can have it. And it works amazingly. So when Fort Mac had their fires, well, that's all the time now, but back in like 2016 when they were really, really bad and all the smoke was coming here to Edmonton, one of my friends who lived in Fort Mac, she had escaped with her cat, and her cat was traumatized, and he was having a really, really hard time. And they were at a hotel, and I told her to come see me at work, and she came, and I don't remember if I sold it to her or bought it for her, but I gave her pet rescue. And she sent me a photo later, and she's like, yeah, I think that Junior is settling in just fine now. And it was a picture of him laying flat on his back on the hotel bed. She's like, yeah, he's better. I think it's working. So that's awesome. And it works fast too. Just like homeopathics, flower essences can work in a matter of like 10 to 15 minutes. And then it's nice because if they don't, you can take more until you kind of get the relief that you need without any side effects or interactions with medications. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I have. Oh, and I wanted to add in, this isn't quite a supplement thing, but I find it really helpful. And again, it was my shaman friend who mentioned this, because everyone, tells you to take a salt bath. I don't bath. I don't like being in a bathtub and soaking in my own, yeah. So that's fine. But her idea that went a little further than I needed it to. But her idea is that if you don't want to take a salt bath, do a salt scrub. So take like a quarter of a cup or a third of a cup of whatever healthy salt you want. So like sea salt or Himalayan salt. I use sacred salts. They are from, so it's got Himalayan pink salt, Hawaiian black salt, salt from Peru, and one more. One sec. Okay, I realized, realized why I couldn't remember the fourth one, because there is not a fourth one. It's those three. So black salts from the Hawaiian Islands, pink salts from the Himalayan mountains, and rose salts from the Andes Mountains in Peru. And these are all unprocessed, unrefined, and high in natural minerals. So yeah, I like to use it for eating, but I also like to use it for more, magical purposes. And shout out to Nature's Cargo. So they're a Canadian brand, but they're phenomenal. And it's funny because this is years ago. I had decided I wanted to try their sacred salts, and I went to put a special order in. I was working even at a different store at the time. That's how long ago this was, like well over 3 years, probably more like 4 or 5. And the lady who did that order, she's like, I just did that order, and I don't order from them very, very often. Call right now. It was like a half hour ago. There's no way they processed it yet. Call right now and have it added to the order. So I did. She's like, oh, and he's a really nice guy. So yeah, so I did, and I chatted it up with this man, and I said how I wanted the sacred salts for magical purposes, and he was all, enthralled by that. And I wanted a 5-pound bag. And when our order arrived, it was no charge. He didn't charge me for this like $40 bag of salt that I still have to this day. But you know what? It paid off for him, because now we carry it where I work. So, because I love it. Yeah, so Sacred Salts by Nature's Cargo. Love, love, love. Okay, now what else? Oh, that's what I didn't finish that whole thing. Oh my gosh, Trista, just simmer down. So, put your favorite salt in a little bowl, anywhere from like a quarter to a third of a cup. Then add your favorite body wash, mix it up, and scrub with it from like head to toe. And then to get your back, you can just add a little bit of water to the bowl and like swoosh it down your back. And honestly, when I do that, if I've had a day where I've been around too many other people and I'm collecting all of their crap, this is just the best way. You walk out of the shower and feel like a whole new person. It's phenomenal. So I love doing that. Yeah, so that's that. And then I was gonna tell you about this because that's so funny. Look, she's an orange now. So we were trying out like a self-tanner, a natural self-tanner at work yesterday. And so our boss gives us each a little squirt. And she's like, oh, just put it on one of your arms. I'm like, well, I don't want to like have one arm that looks tanned and the other one doesn't. That's ridiculous. So I was like, what can I do with this stuff? It's like, maybe I can draw something with it. And then I thought, oh, I'm gonna color in my tattoo. So yeah, this is like 3 coats of it. It turned out pretty well. It's kind of fun. Anyway, so that's that, and that has nothing to do with the rest of the video. That's okay. I can throw in whatever I want because it's my video, and you just have to sit there and listen. So I think I'm done, and this is over an hour. This was not supposed to be over an hour. That's crazy. I want to apologize. I don't think that I need to. Hopefully you guys can like listen to this in little stages. What I'll do is you don't care because you already made it to the end, but I'm gonna go and put little chapter breaks or whatever you call it, where you can like put what you're talking about, because I learned how to do that. Yeah, and then maybe if there's a certain herb someone's interested in, then they can jump to that herb. Anyway, I think that's all. And is that all? Looking around for other things, even though what else is there gonna be right in front of me for me to talk about? Nothing. Ooh, maybe these broad beans, these are so good. They're a little beanie snack, and it's gonna be backwards. They are go beans, roasted broad beans. Now, barbecue chipotle is not my favorite flavor of anything, but I had to get them anyway. They also have like a salt and vinegar and sour cream and onion or something like that. So, which I got those too, don't worry. That's just not what I chose today. Yeah, I think that's all. I think, oh, Shilajit. I didn't talk about Shilajit. Why is it not on my list? I wrote it down somewhere, but Shilajit is freaking amazing. And I know, like, this is one of those things that the internet gets into, and then you're like, do you mean it? Because you talk about all sorts of things, internet, and you just make all of these wild, stupid claims. And then people come in and go, I want this because it's going to fix my entire life. And you're like, yeah, it's not. It's not, but nice try. Moringa was one. I had a guy come in, oh, I hear moringa does everything. It does a lot. It's got good nutrition. It's got the chlorophyll. It helps you produce breast milk. Did you want that, sir? So anyway, but Shilajit is pretty legit. So it's humic acid and fulvic acid together in one. It's like mineral pitch from the mountains. And humic acid is great for binding to heavy metals. And fulvic acid is great for absorbing minerals that we need. So fulvic acid will carry 50 times its weight in minerals directly into the cells, and then it's going to push the toxins out at the same time. So wonderful stuff even on its own. And when you combine it with humic, you get a really good heavy metal detoxification process. So great stuff. A lot of people will get a lot of really different types of results with it because a mineral deficiency can result in a whole host of issues, physical issues and challenges and what have you. So yeah, so Shilajit can be really helpful for that, for a lot of things. And depending on the person. So if someone comes along and says, well, it helped me with this, so it's gonna help you with this. Well, maybe if that mineral deficiency is the reason that you're dealing with that issue, right? If it's not, if you have another reason to have that issue going on, then it's not gonna help. Then whatever your reason is gonna be what helps you, right? And that's the whole point of natural medicine, is getting to the root of the problem to find out why you have this symptom and then to treat it with the actual lack that's taking place, or excess, right? Because that could be too, right? Excess heavy metals, for example. And I wanted to throw in, this is the reason I brought up Shilajit, is that now, you know, I found it on the internet and now it's gone. But there was a study that was done where they were doing heavy metal detoxes with people, like different protocols or a protocol. And what they were testing was people who just did the protocol, and then they had people do like a 10 or 15 minute meditation where they practiced active gratitude, where they just sat and felt gratitude for 10 to 15 minutes or whatever it was before doing this heavy metal detox protocol. And those people who were in a state of active gratitude just dumped their heavy metals like nobody's business. Like, there's statistically significant, and then there's like, holy crap. And I believe they were in the holy crap range. So be grateful, because that's going to be like the start of everything. And honestly, because I have Shilajit now, I don't take it properly, but like I don't really do heavy metal cleanses. I mean, I don't have fluoride. I have like filtered water that filters out the fluoride. So I've got a lot of things going for me that way, but still, you would expect, I drink from aluminum cans, I don't do heavy metal detox. I should, I don't want to use that word, but have some sort of heavy metal toxicity, right? But when one of the girls who was just starting out in her live blood cell analysis practice looked at my blood. She was like, I don't see any heavy metal issues here. And considering it's something I don't really think about, but I do, I'm grateful. I'm one of the more grateful people that I know. Because it feels good, damn it. Just appreciate life and appreciate the little things. It feels good in the moment when you're doing it. And if you can find those things that are, you know, your reasons for being happy and being, you know, filled with that light, just do it, man. It's good. So that's kind of how I try to live. And apparently it's working. If that's, you know, if A leads to B leads to C, then I must be doing something right. So I think that's all. And I just, got out another 10 minutes there. So I love you guys. This is going to be the end of my video now. Look, it's going to be 1:11. I'm going to wait till 1:11. Maybe I can do 1:11:11. I doubt it. But this has been fun and probably my longest talkie video, which is going to go well in my newly formed playlist that I call Trista Talks and Talks and Talks and Talks and Talks and Talks. Actually, there's not that many, but that's okay. You'll find it anyway if you want it. Love you guys. Thank you so much for watching and take care. Bye.